How are you guys?
Play around with what's the name of the AI image generation software, because you have the new background. You had it on Friday as well. Midjourney, yeah. Did you play around with Midjourney?
I have a subscription with it, and I gave them $10, and I've been playing around with it the last 2 weeks. Generate some good, cool stuff. This is some of them, yeah.
Yeah, we've been playing around with it as well. We were thinking of maybe if we'll get the corporate. Hey, Philip.
Hi, Philip.
The corporate subscriptions to it, so we can use the images commercially. Because I don't know if you get commercial rights with the $10 subscription.
I don't know, but yeah, that'd be great. You should put it in the Discord as a bot, and you can just let anyone use it. If you get the commercial, we could just let anyone use it and put it in the Discord. One of my friends put it in his Discord. I didn't even realize you could do that. Any of us could launch it.
Yeah, we actually invited a bot to our private. We have our own Discord server that only we use, and we invited the Midjourney bot to our private Discord server, and we've been playing around with it there, so we don't have to play around with it in I don't know, in the Midjourney server or in
DMs.
It's DMs directly with the bot. Yeah, so both of us.
Yeah, I've been just messing with it in the DMs. It is so cool. So cool.
Yeah, I can see that you're already recording. So did you set up the auto record?
Yeah, I did.
So that's a heads up for everyone joining us in this meeting today that we're also recording the call. So everyone is free to leave if you're not.
Hey,
or don't show yourself on camera if you're not comfortable with that. So, but just wanted to give everyone a heads up. We usually didn't record the weekly calls up until this point, but we had some very interesting conversations during them, and eventually we figured that it's a waste in a way not to record them. We took the decision not to record them because we didn't want to make anyone who joined them, because these are open calls as opposed to our roundtables, which are invite only. These are open calls, so anyone from the community can join in, and we didn't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable being recorded and maybe inhibit them from speaking. So, hi Felix, happy Tuesday to you too.
New haircut.
New haircut.
Oh, same haircut. Same haircut. Almost.
Same haircut?
Fresh haircut.
Fresh haircut, maybe.
I want this one, so they are plaid.
You're trying to blend in with the French.
Yeah.
French way of life. That's where to go.
You're missing your baguette.
Do I have one?
But
no.
But on the other hand, also like a Peaky Blinder.
Yeah, he's got blades in there too.
This is such a fucking awesome theory.
Yeah,
really good.
it is.
Really
It's
good.
like my favorite. Yeah, love it. Oh,
So it's already almost 5 minutes past. Should we get into it? Should we wait for more people to show up? Maybe we can wait for another minute, and then we can get into it. We have two bigger topics for the agenda today. One is addressing the royalty standards in a more formal way. We had numerous discussions over the months about evolving the royalty standard, but now since we have Philip on board and he's our first CIP editor, and we've kind of decided that his first project that he'll tackle is the royalty CIP. So we're going to hear some initial thoughts from him, and I think Sent also have prepared a presentation for us. And then after that, we can dedicate some time to continuing our discussion about implementing NFTs in the Catalyst voting process that we started in the previous weeks. I was thinking that we can allocate maybe 40 minutes to the royalties topic and 20 minutes to the Catalyst NFT discussion, but we'll keep it fluid and we'll see how it goes. So Philip, you have the stage.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll share the screen. Do you see my Word file?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, okay. So basically the Word file is a little bit messy because my thoughts are still messy, and Sant and I had a meeting yesterday, and we kind of brainstormed a little bit, and I'm gonna try to best present what we thought. Sant, please, jump in whenever you feel that it's necessary. So first thing I did, I copied the existing CIP 27. That is the one that is not really being used today, but that's the only kind of royalty standard that we have out there. And I kind of put in, here in yellow, what, let's say, the issues are currently. So we have here in the specification, only the first minted set of instructions will be honored. Any future updates or rewrites will be ignored. This prevents a Cardano asset maker from changing the royalties at a future date. So this is something that we would like to change. Also, I see from, my opinion is from the tone of this sentence that this was created with a purpose intentionally to disable, the asset maker to change the royalties later. And one more thing we have here, within this created asset will be the metadata for royalties distribution. It will use a tag of 777 and then have two tags to identify the percentage of future sales requested as a royalty and the payment address to forward those royalties to. So it's one address, right? It's one single address that we have here. Also, the proposer states here, the address key tag can be a string value or an array. It is to include a single payment address. Okay. It's just by allowing for an array, the payment address can exceed the per line. It's not really important. But this is important. This payment address could be part of a smart contract, which should allow for greater flexibility of royalty distributions controlled by the asset creator. So basically what the proposer states here, hey, in the standard, we have one address. Now this address can be like this one, can be just a normal Cardano address, but it can also be a script address. It can be a Pluto script address. So you can basically, send all the royalties to the smart contract, and then whatever, you decide to do with the smart contract, it can be distributed to more than one address or whatever, So that was kind of the idea of the proposer at the time. There are some examples here, revisions, and that.
Just a quick question about this.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. So, if we go down the route of hard coding a smart contract address instead of a single physical address, which the smart contract would then distribute the royalties according to the wishes of the creator, what are the possibilities of updating that smart contract in the future? And when would we be wanting it to be completely unlocked, or is there a way to enforce also some kind of maybe blocking on the smart contract, so that, for instance, if there's multiple creators of an NFT collection, one of them cannot update the smart contract without the knowledge of the others, making his address, for instance, the only one that receives royalties or something like that. So there are cases both in which it would be very good to have the contract flexible, and cases in which maybe the contract would need to be a little more rigid. Because as you correctly mentioned regarding the third point in the specifications that only the instructions at the time of the collection minting of the 0 token minting, let's call it that, will be honored. And as you said, this was intentionally set up, and it's good that it's set up that way, but it's only good for a specific use case. What we're trying to achieve is basically open up the standard to more than one use case. So would there be a way to preserve this use case, but also incorporate additional use cases into it, so to make the standard a bit more flexible?
Yes, I think there are a few ways, and we have about 4 different ideas that we will, present, and then we can open up the discussion. Just to get back on the smart contract topic, currently, let's say in this current situation, if we have a policy that has the current royalty token minted, the royalty token can point to one smart contract address, right? If you change that smart contract, that will be a new address. So that smart contract, in the sense that you explained it, is not updatable. You cannot update it and preserve royalty distribution to that smart contract. Okay, so let's say we make a smart contract, version 1, and we get an address ABC. And we state that royalty token sends to address ABC. Okay, but then we make a version 2 of the smart contract. When we publish it, when we create the script, it will not have the address ABC, it will have some other address. So basically the royalties will always be sent to the first contract. Now, there are ways to make the smart contract smart enough, to automatically distribute a percentage to all people. But if you want to, change these percentages on the fly, that's not going to work probably. So we didn't get into that. We didn't go that route to try and improve the standard. Okay, so here here I wanted to write down, so what do we want to achieve? We want to achieve updatable royalties, right? And we want to achieve that we can send royalties to more than one address. Okay, and we have a few issues here that we will get back to later. So the first idea that we have is the most simplest idea. It basically doesn't, require too much of effort. It just says keep the policy open, mint and burn these different tokens. You take the first one, you burn it. When you create the next one, then the marketplaces are responsible to take a look at the latest of these tokens and update their royalties according to that. Right, so that's the first, simplest idea that we had. Does everybody understand that? Do we have questions about it?
Yeah, one quick question. So I from what I know, the current standard also works with burning the token. So you have to mint it has to be the first token of the collection. You mint it and then you burn it before minting the rest of the collection.
Yes.
So
but then we have the policy open, right? That this is the idea. We keep the policy open and then we mint a new token, a new 777 token. And then you basically say to the marketplaces, ignore the old one, look at the new one.
So how could this be achieved with a locked policy?
It could not. It cannot.
Because I'm asking the question because most of the collections currently are minted with a locked policy, and there's a strong push from the NFT community, from the market, towards locking the policy as a way of ensuring that basically stability of the asset, basically that the author cannot change or mint anything, right? So I want to have what I bought, my NFT, stay the same. And that's where the value of the NFT basically comes from. And that's why the market, well, one of the values, but that's one thing that's valued by the market. And that's why most, I think, of NFT collections are minted with a locked policy. So that's something we need to take into consideration as well.
Yeah, I understand. I agree completely. So we have the idea too. If we want to have a locked policy, and there is a condition that asset maker still has a policy private key, right? We can define a standardized royalty transaction. It can be a transaction, you know, maybe sent from, let's say, minting wallet to itself. Maybe that can be. Doesn't have to. It has a standardized, you know, metadata included in the transaction. And it has to be signed, has to have at least part of it signed with a policy, private key, right? And then when we have this, you know, transaction, we have the standard, then marketplaces can look at this transaction and say, aha, okay, this transaction contains what I need. Okay, do we understand this?
So marketplaces will have to look for a transaction signed with the private keys of the initial policy.
Marketplaces will have to look for this kind of standard that we define, right? They will be, we can now go more into detail and discuss how it is easiest for them to find this, you know, transaction. They can scour the metadata, and the metadata will, of course, contain policy, you know, policy ID, and it will contain something, and then they can look for that. They can query their DB syncs or whatever for that information. But this is something that can probably be even more optimized, and that's something that when we go deeper, we can discuss how easy, how quick it is for them to do that, right? This option is a bit more complicated than the first one, but it does solve the problem of a locked policy. It does not solve a problem, though, of asset maker not having a policy private key anymore, right? So, and to Sent and we spoke about it. I mean, to the best of our capability, if the policy creator lost the private key of the policy, we do not have a straightforward cryptographic way to prove the ownership of that, you know, of that NFT collection. So I don't know if someone has suggestions, ideas about it, where we can unequivocally prove that someone without the minting private key can prove the ownership. I am listening.
I think it would be, like you said, it would be good to go through your entire presentation, and then so that we surely have time to go through the whole presentation, and we'll take questions and suggestions after you covered it all. So this is one of the key questions, as I understood it.
Okay.
But super quickly, super quickly, you could just make a minting script that has more than one key as the signing key to make sure to mitigate a risk of just losing it. Maybe have two keys that can mint on the policy with the script, and keep both in separate hands in a way. But
I
you
agree,
should do that
Nicholas.
for any project anyway.
I agree, Nicholas. It's just about the new ones. I don't think it's the problem, because we can state for the new policies. It's just about the old ones, about the backwards compatibility, right? What if I minted something 6 months ago and I just don't have the key, you know?
Well, now it could be lost anyway. It could be locked anyway, right? Oh, but you mean just minting with the same policy hash would be enough to make a royalty token in your new standard?
It would be, yeah, because then I can just make a minting transaction. Not a minting sorry, just a normal ADA transaction. I send one ADA to myself with metadata, and I sign it with that private key, with that minting signing key.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Idea 3. This is a bit of a, let's say we have a separate policy just for the royalties, right? So the path would be like this. We mint a collection and we make one new token. We call it here 776. And that token is the first one created and burned, like let's say it is today. And it simply references the new policy ID, which is open. So this open policy ID has the real royalty token, and the original policy is the NFT policy, and that one is locked. So your users, your buyers know that you cannot mint new NFTs, but also they know that you can update your royalties however you feel. Right? NFT collection policy references the royalty policy. Now there is a problem here that I think, Sant, if you can help me out here. We figured that to have an additional field in the NFT, maybe Nicholas also you can help if you know. If you want to make, let's say, a new NFT policy, it's already standardized by the protocol. You cannot add metadata there however you want. Can someone confirm that? Because I didn't try it yet.
When you make what? When you make the 721 token? The 7...
No. When you make, like, okay, so this is an example of Spacebuds policy, right? So I cannot add this.
No, I don't think so. The native script is serialized in a way where the fields are very much defined. I don't think the CBOR would work.
Yeah. So that was kind of why I think idea 3. I mean, it is doable.
You could totally open this up with a Plutus script, though. If you use a smart contract and UTXOs with datums for the royalty value and address, then you could have a central contract with a bunch of people with pub key hash verification and rules on the datum also, like how or when can you change the address and the percentage. If you want to go script and smart contract wise, there's a bunch of things you could open up also.
Sure. Okay, we can.
Idea 5. Sorry.
Yeah, idea 5 can be that's a good idea 5. But just this is where we kind of stopped with idea 3, because to achieve this, we would basically have to ask IOG, okay, well, guys, change the CBOR, add another field, and it's just too complicated. But still, it's an idea. And idea 4 is basically same as idea 3, except you don't have the NFT collection policy referencing the policy. You just have the royalty token, right? You mint a new token, the first one, and that token references the new policy ID. So in idea 3, the policy itself, this one, should reference the new policy ID, but we cannot make that work. But in idea 4, we just mint the token that references a new policy ID, right? That token is then, this whole policy is then locked, and then just this token shows to a new policy, which is open, which has a proper royalty token, the old one, like it is right now. And that policy token can be minted and burned and changed however we feel. So in that way, we have changeable, updatable royalties, and we still have a locked original NFT collection. right? So I also wrote here royalty limits are 0 to 1, which is self-explanatory, but still. And we have two solutions for more than one address. The idea one is just to add more fields to existing 777 token. So let's say this is 777. Right now you have rate and address. We can easily, open up again more fields where you have rate 1, rate 2, address 1, address 2, or you can change them to arrays and you can put more if that's what we want. And the second idea is basically to not change anything here, but to go to the first thing that Raresh and me talked about, where you just send it to a Pluto script, and then that Pluto script handles multiple addresses or whatever it needs to handle.
I had also put forward the idea a long time ago when we came up with 777 of just emitting a fungible amount of the royalty token and actually distributing it to people, and whoever holds it gets a part of the royalties, right? So they're like shares. So you emit, let's say 100 royalty token, then you keep 50 and you give 20 to your artist and 30 to your dev or whatever. And then people just get the royalties split wherever those are located. Basically.
That would also require like a smart contract that follows how much a certain wallet has and then, distributes to that.
Well, or no, not really. GPEG store can just figure out where the tokens are, split the amount, and send it directly in every transaction. It's just the transaction builder has a lot more work to do, but not a lot more work, but a bit more work, definitely. The only cool thing is that when you want to change address, you just send the tokens to somebody else, or you sell them on GPEG store, right? It becomes a share of the project, and that made it interesting that way. So that's maybe a twist on those ideas. But yeah, that's all interesting. I'm sorry. I know I'm probably saying stuff that's already been said. I'm very busy and I just had the time to come right now. If you guys don't know who I am, you can. I'm fence maker, so I'm a minter, and I'm building equine right now. So I'm super busy, but I really wanted to come here, and I got the email like last minute.
Well, thank you for coming. I did not know, but thank you.
We remember seeing your idea, Nicholas, some time ago, and honestly, that was one of the best ideas around the royalty standard discussion that we've seen. So we really like this approach of having shares, as you said, to the project, because it opens up a whole lot of possibilities, not only in terms of distribution, but what could an artist potentially get from his collection, as maybe even as it's the case with shares of the raising of future equity, of future capital for maybe future projects by selling his shares in the current project. That's also a possibility. So we should really look at potentially incorporating this idea of royalty fungible tokens that are described as shares in the initial policy.
There is the same danger of rug pull, right? If for some reason you'd like to actually force the change of the destination, you cannot steal those tokens away from somebody. So if the creator or whatever did not pay his artist and is hugging all the tokens, there's no way to take them from him. So that's not fixed with this.
Right. I honestly, as artists, first and foremost, we're talking now, that's kind of a non-issue, because it shouldn't be up to the markets to be the ultimate judges of what is a rug pull or not. Royalties should be enforced, period.
Right.
Who's the judge of what is a rug pull and what's not a rug pull, and what is even a rug pull in NFTs, right? In the DeFi space, it's very clear what a rug pull is. Someone promises a project and doesn't deliver. But in the NFT space, you always have the NFT. So in that sense, it can never be a full rug pull, even if that NFT comes with some attached promised functionality or what's the word I'm looking for? Utility, right? Everybody's looking for
The
utility.
mythical utility.
The mythical utility. So it doesn't matter how much utility is being promised, you still have the original NFT, especially if it's an art NFT. Some projects may use, and in that case, maybe the discussion is a bit more straightforward, but especially when we're talking about art NFTs, what's a rug pull? Who's the arbiter of rug pulls?
Right. And yeah, for royalty tokens, I think also what I said quickly is that with the new way to, with reference inputs for smart contracts, you can look at datums that are stuck in a smart contracts UTXO without spending it. And so that makes it a way to put data on chain in a way that's queryable for whoever is building a royalty transaction like JPEG Store. So if you make a good smart contract where you need the same pub key hash as the minting key hash to send a UTXO in, and then the datums could contain the destination addresses and the royalty percentages, and that contract could have rules. Either it's static and once you set it, you can never change it or do anything. Or if you have the pub key, well, if you can sign with the key for the minting, you can update your datum, sending it to the same smart contract with an update of the datum to new destinations or to a new royalty percentage. And that could even have rules if we can all agree on one. I don't think there would be rules that make sense on the percentage in a decentralized world. You never know what people are doing. It could be it's a charity project and actually 100% royalty does make sense. You do, like, we cannot account for every case, but yeah, reference inline datums in a smart contract could also be, it's cool because there's no NFT stuck in there. So it's a minimum UTXO. It's a small, like 1 point something ADA. Well, it's kind of like an NFT, but that would be also maybe a cool way to centralize the data but have a decentralized database of royalties.
But how about this, Nicholas? Is it doable? Is it doable that we, as a group, specify that smart contract? We specify it, we write it, and we open source it.
It should be open source from the beginning, and we should develop it as a community and give access to people to do pull requests. But then we need also a good versioning system, because every time you actually change it, the smart contract address changes, and then you don't want to fuck up like every royalty ever every time you do a code pull. So you've got to be super careful with that. But yes, absolutely, that should be open source. It's the nature of it, right? If you centralize the creation of the contract, then it's not a decentralized royalty standard at all. So, and there's other clever ways of doing stuff without the contract, with just the metadata, like you said, 776, to just send yourself a transaction with metadata in it. The only difference with IDEA 6 and this one is that people then require an indexer to read every block to gather a list of all royalties, and you cannot like query it in any good way off of the chain. You have to keep a running tally of every block and like keep a store of all those royalty information somewhere, which I guess people do right now. But IDEA 6 is nice in the way that if you make a clever way to find out where it will be in the contract, then you could query it directly within a smart contract, which makes it very cool, so that JPEG Store can have in its smart contract a reference to the royalty information during contract execution, and actually make sure that they respect royalties or the contract fails, right?
So basically we can, if we put that into the smart contract logic, we have 100% of it on chain, on code, right? We don't need
referenceable,
an
and referenceable during a smart contract execution, which is a cool part. Anything else will have to be an oracle. So then you could make, let's say, a marketplace contract that's decentralized, that doesn't care about JPEG Store, right? That's just open, that enforces royalties. which is a cool thing.
That enforces royalties, except in case if I just send it from one wallet to another, right?
But that's not using a marketplace contract.
Yeah,
is it?
that's true.
That's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
you could be sending it from your right pocket to your left pocket,
Yeah.
and you're not supposed
Yeah.
to pay royalties. Or you could
Yeah.
be sending it to your friend in an alley, and like nobody cares. But the point is, most of people that exchange with an unknown, untrustable tier would use a smart contract, like trading tent or just a decentralized way to do it. And it'd be cool if the smart contract itself enforced royalties. So that would be a step in the right direction to give people a quick way to reference royalty information within the smart contract.
Nice idea. And one comment to the idea 5. It's the first time I've heard about that, and I really like it as well. The fungible tokens that are minted, it is in an open policy so that you can update the percentage rates.
No, but the percentage rates are determined by the distribution in different wallets of the tokens themselves. Let's say every collection set has 1,000 fungible tokens representing up to 0.1, or we can even go 10,000 fungible tokens. And the distribution in wallets determines the percentages of distribution. If you're referring to the initial rate of royalties, then of course there needs to be a separate entry for that. Did you mean Sen, did you mean the percentages being distributed, or the initial percentage of the royalty from the sale itself?
What I thought when I read this, at least, was that you could send some NFTs to different wallets, and that the number of fungible tokens in one particular wallet determines how much you get in royalties.
So let's say let's simplify it as much as we can. Let's say we have 100 fungible tokens just for royalties. Ana Maria and Raresh have 50. Sent has 30. I have 20. Okay, completely separate from the NFTs. Those are just fungible tokens holding in our wallets. Whenever an NFT is sold on any marketplace, Raresh gets 50%, I get 20, you get 30. Because of those fungible tokens that you have in your wallet. Now, if you want to sell those tokens, you can. If you want to move them around, you can. But there is, though, you know, if the, let's say 3 of us are like the creators, that's how we agreed. But there is no way for someone to force me to give my tokens to someone else, right? There is no programmatic way to change that.
Right.
No.
So I would implement that as closely like the 7/7 token as possible. So I would force it to be minted first on the policy. I would make it the policy with no asset name so that it's easily findable with just the policy ID, so that you can find those tokens around. And sent, to answer your question, when you mint them, you make the rate, you put the rate field in the 777 metadata, and that's the royalty, right? You don't change that anymore. And you do put an address, which would be a default address in case for some reason you cannot find the tokens, but you should find the tokens instead and send it to the location of the tokens, split it amongst the token distribution. So it's an update on the 777 in the sense that you mint multiple tokens, you do not burn them, and you send them around to people. And if they are there and there's a quantity, then it's the split. It represents the split of the royalties.
It would just be probably mandatory in this case to lock the policy. Because if you have an open policy, then theoretically you can mint more of these.
Or change the percentage or address. But what I would maybe, and you cannot track which were emitted first, because the clever way of 777 was only the first mint transaction counts. You cannot do that anymore. So yeah, you could emit
But if you
other
kind
tokens.
of if you kind of implement this part of the idea, you can reference, you can reference with the 776 token a new policy where these fungible tokens are minted.
Mhm.
That policy locked. And then this policy, if in case you want to have your, let's say you want to have your NFT policy open, but you don't want to have your royalty policy, you must not have this royalty policy open. You have to have it locked.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if you mint additional tokens, I mean the total value of the tokens would still be 100%, right? There's no way of
It would.
moving past.
No, but let's say
It-
you emit 1 billion and you give them to yourself, then you're
Yeah.
receiving 100% of the royalties,
Yeah.
and you just completely Facebooked the other person's out.
Exactly, yeah, that's the problem. But
Zuckerberg, I mean, sorry,
it's a
wrong
problem
verb.
only within the group of creators. It's not a problem for the outside.
Yeah, but
user.
let's say we are the group of creators, but I sell it to someone. I sell my 20% to someone, and then I mint another billion. So those 20% are worthless.
Yeah.
I would go the way to have this locked. It's just for simplicity, and there's no reason to mint additional tokens if we go with this option.
Yeah, then this option complicates things a bit if it needs to be locked in a way.
In a separate policy, yeah.
Would it be possible to I don't know, maybe through smart contracts or any other way to implement a functionality similar to what we would achieve with the tokens, but without actually using the tokens?
Sure, if you have the addresses defined within the smart contract, which is kind of fixed, right?
But that doesn't solve the problem of being able to easily sell them, because you cannot list an address on a marketplace. So
yeah, well, I agree. But then, I mean, in that case, I think idea 6 is more, because with idea 6, once we kind of enable the smart contract functionality, it opens up a whole floodgate of logic that we can have, right? Because we can even say here, this smart contract can mint fungible tokens, right? At the moment of creation, it can mint fungible tokens, spread them out, and that's it. And then that smart contract is the only one that has the minting policy, and it will never mint them again. If we really want to go into deep, we can even formally specify that it can never mint another token after the creation or whatever. But then just the point is, how complex do we want to go, right? The original CIP27 kind of prefers not having smart contracts here, because I think it was even made before the smart contract functionality was out.
Yeah, it was. It was super. Well, actually, we made it super simple because we were scared of people from ETH coming over and making an ETH kind of royalty standard on it. So we wanted to have just something down that's Cardano centric. But yeah, even at the beginning, we knew it needed updates, right? We just wanted something that worked for the beginning.
I mean, I am all for the smart contract functionality. It opens up a lot of complexity, a lot of other, conversations that we need to have.
Absolutely. And I don't think it's ready. I think it should be something we keep in mind. And anyway, when we evolve this concept to the real next level, I would totally use decentralized identities in it. Maybe the minter's identity on top of the project creators. There should be stuff that that would help also have the collection be recognized as a proper collection, right? Well, if it's a recognized minter and a creator that's already been accepted, then it's not a weird stuff happening. So anyway, that could all be tied together at some point. But
that's something a bit about which we already had a lot of discussions, because one of the other key pain points with the NFT space that as the NFT Guild are looking at is project verification. Right. And in that part of our discussions, we talked a lot about the IDs, and We also talked a lot about how we could incorporate the IDs with the royalty standards, but as you said, that's not a complete picture yet.
No.
So that'll be the real version 2 of the royalty standard. What we're trying to maybe flesh out now is the version 1.5 of a better royalty standard until we get to that place where we can fully incorporate the IDs if the market goes
Right.
down that route. Because
I
maybe
I would stick with no smart contract for this one, even for this version. Smart contracts for royalties should be in a 6 months to a year, right? When smart contract and endpoints for the APIs and utilities and websites, Karen says 10 years. But when we can really integrate with the wallets correctly, and when you interact with a smart contract, it shows you which datum you should send in, and you can just type them in, and it's, you know, it's bloody easy to do anything. Then maybe royalties could include smart contracts, and but yeah, sorry, I'm just excited, I guess.
yeah, no problem. It's good to have your enthusiasm for the topic. Just one other question regarding this approach with the tokens, the fungible tokens for royalties. How much processing overhead would that add to the marketplaces? Because they would basically need to take regular snapshots of the blockchain, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Not necessarily. Like, even you could just get it from Cardano Scan in a free poll to their website. But most people like JPEG Store have an indexer where they just look at every block and they grab whatever data is necessary for them to do their job, like CNFT Tools does, and like a bunch of people do. So you have a miner that just looks at every block, and if it's pertinent for them, you keep whatever info and you do it, and you make a database with it. So basically looking at when the tokens move around to figure out where they are, you could do that, or you could do that on the fly. Locating tokens by asset name is super easy, even with the empty asset name.
Nicholas, if you don't mind me asking, what do you do for indexing? What do you use? Do you use DBSync or some of the newer ones?
Right now I use DBSync for my own minter to figure out where stuff is, but I'm gonna be moving to a custom indexer probably soon to mine only the information I need, because DBSync is bloated and super long to start and everything. So I'm not liking it very much right now. Yeah, DBSync vomit, says Karen. So yeah, you can figure out where tokens are very quickly. I do that for airdrops, and even with DBSync when it's super long, when I scan all UTXOs that exist, basically. But you can mine for it specifically for royalties if you wanted.
So from what I'm understanding, it's already part of their workflow. They wouldn't need to do a lot more to get this information.
It's definitely a little add-on, but I wouldn't think that would prevent them from doing it at all. Like there's this not long to do. It's one more query to figure out where the tokens are.
Yeah, well, this has been a very productive and interesting initial formal discussion around this topic. Like I said in the beginning, we had numerous discussions previously, but this, since we brought Philip on board, we felt the need to have a more formal discussion and move forward with kind of formalizing the standard and potentially evolving it. And now we've only got, I think, 11 minutes left. So let's touch a bit on the Catalyst voting NFT. And Remy, what info do you have from for us? Do you have any new info from the Catalyst team at IOG regarding that?
Yes, so thank you very much. So I synced with the Catalyst team, and I asked them if Catalyst team can provide you a list of wallets that where you can send these NFTs as rewards. And as the answer I got, that I should align with legal first, if that's possible for the Catalyst to share these wallet addresses. So now I need to wait for legal to discuss it, and it might take 1 week or even 2 weeks, because our legal is pretty much queued with all the requests from all the whole company. So it might take a while, but I'm moving forward.
And for me, I presented the whole thing on Thursday as well to the Catalyst Circle. So IoT is mostly really on board. They said yes, definitely, and we want to add it to the Catalyst Circle version 4 election already. Retroactively, somehow, to say, oh, okay, we don't need to set up a fixed time frame in which we have to implement it. Simply say, oh, okay, it happens once the election is done, and ask them as well if we can have the list.
Just one question. Let's say we have I don't know 20,000 people voting. We need to send NFTs to 20,000 people. That just is
Well,
that
no, this is where the options of either creating a claim mechanism for the NFTs, or
okay.
if only in the case that maybe we can collaborate with IOG to do the airdrop. So we don't have to, because I get a sense that you were kind of alluding to the fact that it costs tens of thousands of ADA, right? And we don't have, as the NFT Guild, we don't have the budget for that to cover the cost. So either we would collaborate with the Catalyst team to do the airdrop, or we would set up a claim mechanism in which that list of addresses, which as we discussed, we can easily pull. It's public data on the blockchain, right? If you vote, you get voting rewards, and that data can be queried. And we can build a list ourselves, or in collaboration with DripDrops. DripDrops can build a list, but it would just bypass that need if IOG can supply us the list. And Remy, this would be a way also to bypass maybe legal, so we don't have to wait for legal. Because if IOG, if the Catalyst team wants to do this collaboration, and we go on the route of airdrops, then we don't need the list ourselves, right? Only internally IOG can use the list to do the airdrop of the NFTs. We wouldn't DripDrops, who will be collaborating, I don't know, maybe not for the minting, but whoever the team is that will collaborate for the minting won't need the list itself, and won't need to query it if the IOG takes care of the airdrop internally. Then legal doesn't need to approve the release of the list. That's what I'm saying.
The list of voters?
Yeah, the list of Catalyst voters.
But not on Catalyst proposals, but on Catalyst's RCC on Catalyst proposals.
Yeah, but not on specific Catalyst proposals, only the voters in general, because we don't get the information of what you voted for, only that you voted. And because you receive voting rewards, it doesn't matter how many you voted for or what you voted, you receive voting rewards in any case. And those are proof that you voted, not what you voted for. So it doesn't reveal anything other than the fact that you voted. And based on the fact that you voted, we want to, just to update Nicholas, we want to
do a whitelist either for a claim mechanism or an airdrop, which
exactly, make you eligible to receive an NFT. And that NFT has the role of kind of incentivizing you to vote in Catalyst, because you receive something for doing so besides the ADA reward. And that will also have the utility of allowing you to vote for the Catalyst circle in the future. Now it's currently, elections are being prepared by the Catalyst circle for the version 4 of the Catalyst circle, and holding that NFT would enable you, we're collaborating with DripDrops on this, would enable you to vote
on the Catalyst circle.
On the Catalyst circle.
Okay, so whether or not you voted for, right? Because legal is not going to tell you if they voted for or against your proposal, so that's funny. And second of all, if they do give you a list of addresses and you want to use it for claiming mechanism, we're going to need addresses with a staking ID on it, so long addresses, and that can still be circumvented for now in claiming mechanism in whitelists, where people put the fake staking address at the end of proper payment address, but that's still the best way to do it for claiming mechanisms for now. Airdrops are safer in the sense that if you have a list of receiving addresses for the people that voted and you send something there, then there's no way that nobody can interfere in that mechanism. So the airdrops might be safer, but yeah, it's 1.38 per NFT. So that does come to a lot.
Then also to the point, because I think this will, on Thursday, we have another call with the circle then as well to go briefly through the whole NFT and voting thing. And then we need to figure out who mints them. Who sets the design for them? Definitely community, I'd say. Do not charge this to the entities, because whatever happens there is already in the spirit to have this transition already from, yes, the entities, service providers, facilitators, and community should take the responsibility and action. And then to say, to have it as an open policy so that we are able to update the NFTs, for example, it was really well received. So this is definitely something where we could move on so that we don't distribute, let's say, you don't set up a collection of NFTs over the funding rounds, but you have an open policy NFT which updates them itself over the funding rounds.
All the NFTs are under one policy, so we keep the policy open, obviously, indefinitely, and we mint new NFTs in the same policy, so they show up in the same collection.
And who is the we? Who is the we mint? Who mints them?
In terms of design, we're working on icons part 2 for the Vassal hard fork, and we can do an additional art piece for these, I don't know, for the guild itself at no cost. So we can contribute that to the NFTs, but we still need a minting partner. So either I don't know, we talk to Drip Drops because they're working on the voting, maybe they can help us out with the minting, or we partner with another minting provider from the community. Nicholas is already here in our
right. I'm not biased. There's a lot of good minting services out there, depending on what you want to do. I've basically just had my prototype up for double signed minting, but it's not battle tested yet. So I guess NMaker Pro is super good. Ada Envil has a really good system that are top of the state of the art currently. I could do it. I could do the airdrop also if we wanted to. Depending on when it is, my machine might be battle tested by then.
For the airdrop, we have to provide the cost, right? So
thanks a lot for your donations, Nicholas.
Then I'd rather not take the contract. But yeah, you're down 26K. Oops.
We're actually, like you said, Ada Anvil is we're actually collaborating with them for the release of the Icons Part 2. So
they're friends. They're really good.
And would definitely prefer to not have it all by Drip Drops then. If they take care for the collection, for the election already, let's do the NFT part from someone else.
I'm sorry, I do have to go. There is a CIP editors meeting starting right now.
Awesome.
Thank you. They will be talking about 66, 67, and 68, so I'm going there to listen in. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the great interactions, and we'll continue in that way.
Thank you very much, Philip, for the presentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks,
awesome.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. So my question to you, Felix, in terms of the guild, can we allocate some funds from our, or what do you think? Should we allocate some funds for the minting service provider from the guild treasury? We're not able to pay a lot, but at least, I don't know, a small amount we can look at paying, maybe.
What's clear, you shouldn't pay anything out of your own pocket, right?
Well, not out of our own pocket, but we have, even though it's not for this use case, what do you think about reallocating some funds? Because ultimately that's the question. So we have our guild treasury that we received funding from Catalyst, not for this, but maybe we can decide to reallocate a small part of the funds for the minting provider. So the minting provider doesn't have to be involved purely voluntarily. I mean,
I don't think that's necessary. What you can do is just say to the minting provider, like you can take one ADA per NFT or something and make the NFT be 2.5 ADA. And then it's basically like you give 1 ADA to the minter and 1.5 ADA goes back to the person paying. So they're paying 1 ADA basically plus or minus like a bit of fees.
right, but that's only in the case of
Claiming
the
mechanism.
claiming mechanism.
Yeah, but the airdrop would cost you so much. I
Yes.
don't think that's a great idea.
Well,
Much
the
agree.
airdrop option was only an option as long as there's a collaboration with IOG or the Catalyst team, and maybe we can find the solution with them to.
Yeah.
To
But
cost.
you
think it's-
usually airdrop after a successful sale when you've made a few like 100,000 ADA and then you don't care about using 15K back to your community and giving a good gift. But paying up front like this, I think it's a hard proposition.
And I would try to avoid in any case any, let's say, airdrop, because even if we have to ask then CF or IOG, it just takes them also a lot of time, because then they have to go back to legal, and it just adds complications.
I see your point in the minter taking 1 ADA, but at the same time, so that's for a commercial project or anything that would be totally acceptable. But this is a governance project, and in governance, people can look at and accuse you even of the smallest amount. So if you tie any amount to governance,
It
to
would
governance
just be
processes,
strange.
that can create problems. So we really want to only distribute them at cost. So that's why maybe we would need to incentivize the minter out of our current budget, so that it's
Right.
100% on cost. Because even then, if you have 10,000 people claiming, 10,000 ADA is not a lot, especially not in the NFT community, but to someone involved in governance, they can make an accusation, oh, you did this project only to make that profit of 10,000 ADA and blah, blah, blah. So you really want to separate money as much as you can from.
But I agree. But you wouldn't be making the profit though. It goes to the minter, right? Which is a separate entity.
I know, but try convincing that of every citizen of involved in Catalyst governance, and you'll have a really hard time doing that.
Okay, I don't know. So I'll trust you.
Well, one thing also where I think where we have to be a little bit careful is already we do not want to promote it as I am the minter and this is my governance NFT for you,
Right,
and stuff, because we have to be really neutral in this regard then. And then again, when we add a price to the NFTs, then it just would look so weird. Say, okay, who decided that this person are minting them, and why do they make personal benefit out of a democratic whatnot? So we would run into hell of, oh my God, this wouldn't be nice.
All right.
The NFT itself needs to be completely free. No price, whatever small, like even 0.5 ADA.
Well, they will pay 0.32 ADA, right? There's fees going forward and fees coming back. If you have a double sign machine, you pay 0.15.
Of course, but those are the fees to the network. And
yeah, exactly.
The amount that you need to send comes back with the NFT. And what you're paying are network fees. But if you're paying something for the minting service itself, it doesn't matter how small you're going, like Felix said, you're going to create the potential for a lot of problems, especially because this is tied with Catalyst and governance. And
well, then you'll need to set aside a little budget to incentivize any minter, because it's a good business and you're gonna have to ask them to take their time to do this sale. So yeah, that's gonna cost you something.
We're hoping that any minter that we partner with also does it partially voluntarily, so doesn't look to make a profit for the good of Catalyst and Cardano or whatever.
But it depends how you see it. I've always taken away from my own fees the amount of money you give to charity. So if you're giving 100% to charity, I'm waiving my own fee also, right? So I'm giving you a discount of the charity amount in a way. So I guess if it's a free project, that's something we could talk about. But It's not a charity, though, is it?
Yeah, of course it's not.
Governance charity.
Yeah, we as artists are viewing it the same way. So our art piece that we're creating, we'll create for this is going to be our contribution to the project, right? So besides our regular contribution to the NFT Guild, which is, yeah, let's not get into that discussion because that's more. That's but anyway, you see my point basically. So
yeah, I'm trying not to negotiate on my behalf, just explain the
yeah,
minting side of things.
Yeah. Yeah, and thank you for that perspective a lot. Like,
Yeah. And next steps for this then, I'd say let's wait for Thursday when we have feedback from IoT then on the circle as well. So pushing for the lister, helping Remy from the side then as well. Remy, maybe you should spam Harris Warren because yes, let's spam the same person. So and then what next? Then maybe we should set up a call with IoT for this then as well. We should outline how the NFTs actually work.
Yeah.
Just a proposal at general. What does it aim? What does it try to solve? With minting it, maintaining all things and stuff, because that's the thing, right? We have then the maintenance of the whole thing as well, because it will happen over the funding rounds, like an ongoing process then. And this will require time and engagement, and therefore we have to find a way then to enable resources, because it's not normal then to maintain the whole thing on a volunteer base. So there we have to find a way, and this will become ugly anyway, right? So
and I have to go, but just super quickly, as a strategy game player, I would say also prepare just prepare a way to do your thing if IOG refuses to give you the address list, right? Prepare a way to have something work. If IOJ lawyers say no, right? That's in nobody's control. So just prepare for the worst.
Yeah, we already prepared in a way. We had this discussion with the Drip Drops team, and they said they could pull the list themselves.
Okay, cool. That was a parting shot, though. I have to leave. Sorry.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Thanks,
Nicholas.
thank you. Thanks
Thank
a lot
you.
for being with us today.
Yes, thanks for joining.
awesome feedback insights from this guy.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, we never met him, but we saw a lot of his comments in the NFT community over this past more than a year actually, and he was very insightful always. So we're glad he joined our call today.
Lovely person. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Then what do you think? Should we set up a document to simply have a first rough outline on the proposal?
Yeah, we can do that on Friday. Is that good?
Yes.
In our internal call.
Perfect. Yeah. Until then, we will have also some new stuff from Circle then. Perfect. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can also show you some of the design concepts that we've been thinking about for the art on Friday.
Nice.
So,
Yes, exciting. And we're moving the Friday call up 2 hours for Sent, right?
Yeah, yeah, up 2 hours. So from
great, thanks.
that will be
That will be
Sent in the Friday call. So hopefully,
finally,
you'll be able to find more frequently.
You should more raise your voice, Sent.
Yeah, you just gotta kick us harder.
Exactly. Like, hey guys, that's a really shitty time. This is...
Well, I spoke up and then you acted, so that's good. Thank you.
Actually, if you don't mind me telling this to the rest of the group, Sent, but Sent complained about 2 months ago to us about the hour.
Yes.
And we also encouraged him to speak up to the rest of the group. But
but
taken some time, but he did finally. So he didn't want to speak on his behalf, and we're really glad that he did.
I think you remember that I mentioned it in a meeting as well in the beginning, but
Yeah,
I've left
I think
it.
I remember too.
Yeah.
But
But
it takes us a
thanks.
long time So
Awesome.
you see, Felix, it's us who weren't listening to Sent. It's not Sent who wasn't talking.
That's why I said you need to kick us harder.
Well, the downsides of not showing your face on camera, Sent.
Yeah, we
Have
don't
to
take
work
it
with
that
this.
seriously.
We'll get him there one day, step by step.
Yeah.
We are patient. We have years to go.
Yeah.
Well,
This is
think,
me.
yeah, I think in the Catalyst community there was a similar situation, right? With Philip, I think is his name, who didn't show his face on camera for more than a year, and then
Phil K. Yes.
yeah, Phil K, exactly.
Yeah.
Really nice having you, Remy.
Yeah.
Yep.
See you.
Yes.
next
Thanks
week.
for coming.
And then we are also a little bit over time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Then
we are.
let's close the call. This was
All right.
awesome. This was really nice.
Yeah.
Peter, can you take care to upload this video also? We're preparing a separate thumbnail for these videos with a totally different color. So in the future, if we're going to upload both the roundtables and the weekly calls, it's easy for viewers to distinguish between the roundtables and the weekly calls.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah, for sure. I can do that. And I'm starting to build templates for the process that goes into each one of these different calls in dwork so that we have that. And then we should be able to just generate those each week and it'd be pretty easy.
Yeah,
But,
perfect.
yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah.
All righty.
You guys.
See you guys.
Awesome. Ta-ta.
Thanks.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye.